So, a while back, I made this video talking about all the people trying to defend Denuvo and Denuvo's implementation in PC games and all the negative consequences that have come from it, and that video went over well, but unsurprisingly, the defense of Denuvo has not stopped. I say not surprisingly, it's kind of surprising, but then again, this is the internet. Someone's always defending something for no reason at all. There's always people out there being consumers. So I figured with my gigantic stockpile of screenshots from the Steam forums and from Twitter, shout out to Dreamari, who got most of the screenshots for the last video, and I didn't even use all of them in the last video, and they've sent me a metric buttload of other screenshots since then, so huge shout out to them, because this video wouldn't be possible without them. But I figured, why not make a part 2? Because it seems like Denuvo's nonsense is not getting any less nonsensical. And before you say, Joe, why do you care so much about Denuvo? It's just anti-piracy. It's just anti-piracy. It's just keeping people from stealing the game. Why do you care? Are you a pirate? Do you have a hat? Do you have an eye patch and a parrot? Look, there are several reasons why I care about this, and there are several reasons why I give Denuvo such a hard time, and why I think they deserve 100% of the criticism they receive. First of all, it's not what you paid for when you bought the game, and second of all, it's been proven to negatively impact the game's performance. Third of all, it doesn't even work all the time because plenty of Denuvo games have gotten cracked anyways, so you're sacrificing the stability of a product you paid for DRM that doesn't even have a 100% work rate. And fourth of all, because Denuvo themselves are a bunch of fuck nuggets who are trying to blame all of these things I just listed on toxic gamers. No, really, not only do they deny that their software impacts game performance, despite the fact that it's been proven many times to be a performance hindrance, but they also think their critics are just a bunch of toxic gamers. Maybe, if you didn't want gamers to be toxic towards you, you shouldn't keep shoving your garbage software into places we don't want it. But more importantly, it's not toxic to point out that your software is garbage. Jedi Survivor got an additional 20 to 30 frames per second universally once Denuvo was removed. This is not a conspiracy, and it's not toxic to notice it's happening. Either grow a spine or get out of the industry. And just in case you want to actually go down to my comment section and tell me that Denuvo doesn't actually impact game performance, or that it's actually the fault of the developers who just didn't implement Denuvo correctly or whatever, then I ask you this. In your fantasy scenario, where Denuvo game performance is entirely due to the developer's implementation of Denuvo and not Denuvo itself, let's just say that's true, you would still have to agree that the implementation of Denuvo caused performance issues that would not have been there if Denuvo wasn't being forced into the game. So I don't want to fucking hear it. And to those who say, well, Denuvo wouldn't be required if people didn't pirate games so much. Many of the best-selling PC games of the last few years, of the post-Denuvo era, are games without Denuvo. Let me repeat that. Games without Denuvo are some of the best-selling PC games of the post-Denuvo era. And to put this in even simpler terms, no one has ever elected not to buy a game because Denuvo wasn't in it. So we're going to read through some more stupid defenses of Denuvo in this video, some of which are screenshots from the Steam forums that Dreamari sent to me, and others are people who responded to my tweets criticizing Denuvo over the last month or two and who did a really bad job at countering my critiques. So get a drink, roll up some devil's lettuce, and let us begin. I'm so fucking funny, dude. You guys are so lucky to be subscribed to me. Dax B says, people claim Denuvo is a waste of time and useless at its job, but yet so many cries of demanding it to be removed and only paying customers suffer. Never have I or any of my gaming circle have ever had an issue when trying to play games using Denuvo. I'll trust their word over random forum posts. Wait, so you somehow think it's a contradiction for people to say Denuvo is a waste of time and useless and also cry for it to be removed? Do I have that right? You think this is a winning argument? You say that people are saying the thing is useless and a waste of time, but you think it's a contradiction for them to think something that is useless and a waste of time to be removed from the product they're paying for? You somehow think that's a zinger. That's like if someone walked out of a restaurant and was like, man, that food was really bad food. I didn't want to eat it. And you're like, look at this guy. He thought the food was bad and he didn't even want to finish it? What an idiot. Does that sound stupid to you? Yes, it should. Because you're stupid. Null posts in the Monster Hunter Wilds forums and says, please put Denuvo on this game. I want to see the pirates cry and whine and drink their filthy pirate tears as they try to say Denuvo makes the game run bad, with their only source being other filthy pirate scum. Also, thank you Capcom for finally letting me make a trans femme character. So the only source of Denuvo making games run worse is pirates? You think pirates are the people proving that Denuvo runs a game worse? I'd like to remind you that Jedi Survivor had Denuvo in the PC version up until a couple months ago when EA pulled Denuvo out of the PC version and the game instantly got 20 to 30 frames more on average across the board. But apparently, if you acknowledge this, it's because you're a pirate and your only source of this is other pirates. Okay. Looney says, I love Denuvo. Means I will not feel like sucker for buying the game while everyone else gets it for free. Wish every new game came with Denuvo. Wait, so in your world, the choice is either buy the game with Denuvo or get the game for free? Like that's canon in your brain? And you think other people are the suckers in that scenario for not paying for it? Like, this plainly is not what's happening, but even if it was, you would be the sucker because you're paying for something that you claim everyone else is getting for free. What? Here's another one from Looney. Someone responded to his post and says, the most unhinged take ever because you can do the same thing they do too, Limfao. Then Looney says, not wanting to steal is unhinged, Lamau. Not everyone wants to be a worthless, pathetic thief. Also, if everyone started stealing games, guess what would have happened? No more games, since it would not be profitable to make them anymore. Denuvo is an amazing thing, especially now with Empress out of the picture. I hope all games going forward will use it. PC gaming is the biggest gaming market in the world. Like, let's just lay that down. This is the biggest gaming market in the world, and it was before Denuvo was in the picture. So Denuvo is not necessary. On its face, it's not necessary. Do I think there should be some anti-piracy measures in place? Yeah, obviously there should be some anti-piracy measures in place, but the reason people don't like Denuvo is because it negatively impacts your game. It negatively impacts the thing you paid for, and since it doesn't even have a 100% anti-piracy rate, it is a software that by definition only hurts the paying customer. But apparently, if you point this out, you are a, worthless, pathetic thief. Because you pointed out that the software is garbage. Oh, and that was only my 4th screenshot. You know how many I have to go through? 17. We have 17 screenshots to go through today. Hello, I'm interrupting this video to remind you that this channel is sponsored by 4D Gaming. If you would like a really nice mousepad, go to 4dgaming.com and use code Joe for a discount. This channel is also sponsored by Glitch Energy. It's basically G Fuel, but better, so go to Glitch Energy and use code Joe for a discount. Thank you for letting me interrupt your content. I'll let you keep watching it now. So let's move over to Twitter. On October 23rd, Denuvo came out and said that they're sick of toxicity in the gaming community, and they say people only don't like them because the software works, which, as I've established, debatable. It really depends what you define as working. But I quote tweeted the news and said, it negatively impacts game performance and doesn't even prevent games from getting cracked. Genuinely get out of the industry. And I stand by that. I got a response from someone named Nothing Bruv who says, doesn't even prevent games from getting cracked. I mean, that is not true though. A lot of games still aren't cracked because of Denuvo. And if I am wrong, there was like only one cracker in the scene who was able to do it. Did you just call him a cracker? Hey. No need to get racial here. But when I say that Denuvo doesn't prevent games from being cracked, I'm obviously not saying every Denuvo game has been cracked. I am saying some Denuvo games have gotten cracked, and that alone is enough to throw the value of Denuvo as an anti-piracy measure out the window, because you are now officially introducing performance issues into games without a guaranteed result. You say a lot of games still aren't cracked because of Denuvo. I say a lot of games with Denuvo are cracked. You can debate whether or not it matters, like that more games are not cracked than are cracked. I don't know what the exact count is at this point, but my point is that it is a not zero number of games with Denuvo that have been cracked or worked around or are able to be pirated. That in itself proves a problem with Denuvo and Denuvo's purpose for existing. And for Denuvo themselves to say people only hate them because they're toxic and because it works, it just works. They are a bunch of pompous dicks. They are a leech on this industry. They contribute absolutely nothing. Like truly, all of the money that Denuvo makes from being licensed out to other developers or being shoved into games to, we'll prevent piracy. Denuvo literally, it is a giant company that literally contributes nothing to this industry. They contribute nothing. And I have no problem calling them worthless. I have no problem telling them to get out of the industry, because when you are a company that contributes absolutely nothing positive and that actively degrades the performance of games for paying customers and only paying customers, and then you have the balls to say people are toxic for criticizing you, get out. My quote tweet got another response from someone named Phantom Dragon who says, "Oh, the frames, my precious frames." I love when people tell on themselves like this. I criticize Denuvo for negatively impacting game performance, and you're like, game performance? So you're not a gamer. So like you don't actually care about gameplay in video games, because you're mocking me for taking issue with something that negatively impacts game performance. You think it's a point of mockery that I want better game performance in my video games that I pay for. So thanks for telling on yourself here. Like this response is just you screaming out to the world that you don't actually care about games. You care about status, you care about logos, you care about boxes, you care about IP. You don't actually care about this medium. So, thanks for making that clear. Let's move on. Back to the Steam forums. This one from Virgo says, "Thank you, Sega, for implementing Denuvo. It is unfair for some to access the game without paying a penny while the rest foot the bill. I understand that some are poor, but many out there who can afford the game choose not simply because they can download it for free. We need to support developers and publishers if we want to enjoy more games like Metaphor. Stop stealing." I love the implication here that games wouldn't sell if not for Denuvo. It's like I said, PC gaming was absolutely gigantic before Denuvo was in everything. And there are lots of games that come out every single year that sell gangbusters without Denuvo. This idea that the only way that PC games can succeed is if Denuvo is in there, it's just patently not true. That's part of why Denuvo bothers us so much. It's completely unnecessary. Chippewaffin is responding to someone who says, ignoring the cons of Denuvo, and he says, yeah, if you have a computer from 98 maybe. So today I learned that the only computers that experience performance issues off of Denuvo are computers from 1998, except no. That's fucking stupid. Weiss says, "Aw, is the cute little pirate sad that he can't play Final Fantasy 16 on day one? This is literally the only reason why people's cry about Denuvo, because on PCs, which are nowadays not potato PCs, is Denuvo barely noticeable, and if you come with, but it kills your SSD because it writes times, then delete all your other games, which write and overwrite a ton of autosaves every time you play them, or Windows whenever it runs, which does a ton of stuff in the background on your SSD. Way more." Oh my god, what are you saying here? I kind of stopped paying attention after you said the only reason to cry about Denuvo is if you want to pirate a game. And then I just got annoyed reading another person saying that the only people who notice Denuvo impacts on performance are people with potato PCs. When, again, I'm going to keep bringing up Jedi Survivor. That game got 20 to 30 frames instantly upon Denuvo being removed, which, with how poorly optimized that game was, for a lot of people, that was almost double the frames they were getting. Now, I can kind of see the point you're making here if you're someone with like a really like beastly PC. Let's say you lock your games at 60 or you lock your games at 120, but your machine is powerful enough to be locking at 100 or 200. You know what I'm saying? Like if you're intentionally targeting a lower frame rate than your machine is capable of hitting, which there's nothing wrong with that. I do that all the time. That's part of what makes the experience stable, is finding the target frame rate that your machine is capable of hitting consistently. In those situations, I can see why 20 to 30 frames may not be noticeable, because you may not even notice that it's happening. You may not notice you're losing those frames if you're undershooting. But not only does that not mean those frames are not being lost, and that's also other technical problems with Denuvo notwithstanding, things like you just not being able to play the game because Denuvo shit the bed, or the stuttering issues that Denuvo has been proven to implement in certain games. If we're just talking about raw frames and lost frames, I can understand why in some cases you wouldn't notice that, but you not noticing that does not mean it's not happening. And also, in certain games like Jedi Survivor, games that are not very well optimized, 20 to 30 frames can be the game changer. You cannot be denying that this is happening. There are so many criticisms to make of Denuvo without even mentioning piracy. To boil the debate down that far is just kind of pathetic. Like, if it's a choice between someone who pirates games and being someone who's this much of a corporate bootlicker, I would argue the latter is way worse. Poizo says, are folks still telling tales about DRM affecting performance and that's why they're against it, lol? No, DRM as a concept does not affect performance. Denuvo does. Oh my god. Garmy813 says, only less FPS if you have a shit PC, which is just proven to not be true. Again, whether or not your performance targets are affected by lost frames does not change the fact that those frames are lost. You may be fine with the hindered performance. That does not mean the performance was not hindered. Jeremy also says, if you didn't have such a shit PC, you could still play. I love how PC gamers on net are always like, guys, like stop talking about how much, like, oh, PC gaming is so expensive, you always gotta be upgrading your PC. It's not true. Stop saying that. It's keeping people from getting into the hobby. And then you have people like this who respond to someone criticizing a piece of software that impacts game performance, and you're like, well, it's because you have such a shit PC. Like, fuck you, get out. Go back to consoles, I swear. If all you care about is having the best hardware possible in your ecosystem, please just go back to console. We really don't need this here. TX Feinberg's response to someone who says, I would most likely drop my pre-order if they decided to remove Denuvo. It is going to feel so nice tomorrow playing the game knowing that pirates can't get it. And they say, I'm right there with you. I will be laughing at the pirates as I play the game. How is this any different than the PlayStation fanboys who are like, I'm only playing this game because it's PlayStation exclusive and I want to laugh at people who don't have PlayStations? How is this any different? How are you any better? You're not. I'm throwing you on the list of people who also need to go back to console. Get the fuck out of my hobby. Congratulations, we're now at the point where the PC gamer is gatekeeping other PC gamers from PC gaming. Get out. Mank Soldier says, who are you to speak for paying customers? You're not even a paying customer. I'm a paying customer. Why am I hurt because people stole something I paid for? It doesn't affect me in any way. God, oh my god, you are hurt because you paid for a version of the product that is objectively worse than the version of the product that was stolen. And the reason your version of the product is worse is all in the name of preventing the game from being stolen. It's like a big stupid paradox. That's why it matters. That's why you are worse off. There are two versions of the game. One of them is the free pirated version. One of them is the paid Denuvo version. The paid Denuvo version runs worse on the grounds of, quote, needing Denuvo in there to prevent the piracy. And not only does Denuvo not prevent the piracy, but it makes the experience worse for the paying customer. Meanwhile, the person who pirated the game is getting a better experience. That is the fundamental problem of Denuvo. This is not hard to understand. If you pay for a version of the product that is worse than the pirated version, you are getting scammed. End of story. 10 says, look, it's very simple. If you buy your games on Steam, DRM doesn't affect you. You are stupid. Wow. One more. Fayez says, most of you play and spend money on live service games, so why do you get worked up over Denuvo? Today I learned Denuvo is exactly the same as an actual game. What? I don't even know where to start on this one. If you spend money on live service games, you can't criticize Denuvo, implying that Denuvo and live service games are the same thing? What? In case you haven't noticed this by now, you can really judge how indefensible something is based on how stupid people look trying to defend it. If you make yourself look like an absolute ass clown trying to defend something, chances are you shouldn't be defending it. And the fact that you're so desperate to defend it is just fucking weird. It's just strange. Denuvo is a cancer to this industry. It contributes nothing positive, it hurts only the paying customer, and Denuvo as a company have literally nothing good to offer. They do not have a truly working product. They do not have any creative anything to add. They are helping nobody and profiting off of it. They are a leech. They are the definition of an industry leech. And if you want me to apologize or if you're upset about any of the things that I've said in this video, I'm going to pee on your face. Toodles.